So welcome. Thank you for coming to this celebration of David's life. Each one of you has been touched in one way or another by David's character and or contributed to his life, sometime, somehow. For your positive part in David's life, I thank you. When I say I, it's also we. I may say we, and it might be I, but you can work it out. We are only holding this celebration of his life because, tragically, there is no more life in him. So, although it might be a noble goal to think we could just dwell on happy and fun David, it does, of necessity, include the sadness of his not being here to enjoy the celebration. It's okay to smile and laugh, but also to feel a tear release as we contemplate the life he led until Christmas time last year. A life spanning 5 decades, 2 centuries, 2 millenniums, but sadly only 37 years. We are still waiting for the coroner's final report, in which it is anticipated the actual cause of his death will be made known, if indeed it is ascertainable. Suffice it to say now, he was found dead in his flat, having ingested some pills, but those being not enough to kill him. The elephant in the room is that, of course, it was prescription drugs and psychiatry that killed David, commencing from the age of 19. I feel with his pain too. I first met David with his mother 37 years ago, on the 21st of January 1988, in Redhill Hospital. I was the first Kemp to see him, give him his name, and the last Kemp to see him on the 21st of December 2024, ending with his name too. His last words to me were, "Love you, Dad," and mine to him, "Love you, Dave." In between those dates, he shared a lot of love and led a lot of life. Sounds like Biffy Cries Jane. I wanted to make a movie based on the photos and videos I'd taken during his life, and also including contributions from others, to whom I'm very thankful. His life spanned the analogue and digital eras. I scanned about 2,300 photos. With the digital photos, the total I had for consideration was about 5,800. Naturally, the selection is mine and reflects my biases. I have included photos from almost everyone who sent me collections. There was a cut-off point though, I'm afraid. I'm thankful for some early video footage taken by Andrew and Diane Vickers. I looked at David's Facebook and Instagram pages and have included photos from there and almost all of the music, songs and sing-alongs that he posted as being important or meaningful to him. We were also fortunate to have some audio recordings of his early life, which Mandy tirelessly went through and processed. A few of the songs are my choice. The movie is presented chronologically, but we will see the following themes exemplified many times: holidays, birthdays, activity weekends with the church youth group, skiing, dancing, family, festivals, outings, friends, and concluding with some artwork. Some of the undated photos will not be in strict chronological order, but are my best guess. You will recognise different eras of his life. Some of you knew him when he was young, but not in later years. Some of you knew him in the later years, but his youth is unknown to you. Different groups of friends who have come, gone and arisen as the circumstances of life have played out. The one unflinching, steadfast support and rock throughout all these years is undoubtedly Mandy, his mother and friend, who put so much love into David and constantly fought for him against insuperable odds. After watching the movie, there will be an opportunity for recollections. Some of you know already I've handed out the piece of the paper that you're going to read from. If you're here and you haven't already, you might like to think of a recollection. A recollection or two to share. So it'll be an open mic session. We would like to capture these, written and also written on cards. On the table over there you see there's some cards and some pens, likewise here. So if you just want to write something down, please do. We would like to capture these and we'll keep those in a memory box that we can refer to in times ahead. So we're now going to turn the lights out and we're going to watch the movie. So we're going to have some family recollections first, and then we'll be moving into the other contributions that people have got pieces of paper to read from and an open mic opportunity as well. So I need to just adjust this for Mandy. When you do your reading, keep the mic close to your mouth, but not so that you taste the person before you speak.
David and I spent many Sundays walking different routes on the Ashdown Forest, Winnie the Pooh country. As for all of A.A. Milne's characters, David was definitely Tigger. F for fun. David loved to laugh and loved making others laugh too. David loved to dance, and in his younger days would be found on a Friday night in a club rather than a pub. He loved singing. We would often have a YouTube karaoke at home. If there was some fun to be had, David would find it. He loved creating fun times for people. David, Tara and Sam's Halloween parties were epic. Going on holidays was also part of his enjoyment. David took the sleeper train to Scotland. We had a great fun bus journey from York to Scarborough and caught trams in Budapest, where we shared a special moment, hearing George Ezra singing Budapest in Budapest at a 10-day festival. David also found it fun going abroad, eating different foods and seeing different ways of living, visiting Kenya, Ghana, Malawi, Zambia, America, Italy, Tenerife, Croatia, Egypt, Israel, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Luxembourg, Belgium, France and Spain. He even went to a Buddhist retreat for 2 weeks in Brighton. R for resourceful. When David volunteered to help plant trees in Ghana, and there were no trees, he bought them himself. When Dave volunteered to support marketing strawberries in Kenya to Sainsbury's, and was driven hundreds of miles from the charity and capital to a village bed and breakfast with virtually no internet, he resourced punnets, bought the strawberries at a fair price direct from farmers, took a stack of storage boxes full of punnets, and with the help of a local man, sold them at open-air tourist events. The local man might still be doing it. When his A-level geography partner dropped out, David resourced his welly-booted mum to stand in a river for several hours, holding a device that measured water flow. As a child, I asked, "Why are you putting dirty socks back in the socks drawer?" "If I don't, there won't be any for the morning," he replied. He was right. I for interested. David was curious and interested in everything, meaning he excelled at school, gaining 6 A stars and 4 A's at GCSE. He wanted to make sense of things and took 4 A levels in physics, maths, geography and German, gaining AA, BB grades, and then a 2-1 degree in geography with international studies at the University of East Anglia. Dave was interested in ecology, the universe, Egypt, how things worked, what you'd been doing and what you were thinking. He was also interested in existentialism and loved to meditate and develop spiritual enlightenment, looking into Eastern religions, including Hinduism and Buddhism. As a young adult, David was baptised and had a strong sense of the presence of angels working in the world. E for enthusiasm. Everything David did was at full throttle. For every 1 year we lived, David lived 2. As a child, TV bored him, always wanting to be doing something, although there are 2 films that will always remind me of him, The Emperor's New Groove and Wicked. David dug a potato patch, and I was amazed when I came out to see it was over 2 feet deep. I still pick the raspberries that Dave planted in the same spot. David wanted to make the world better. He cared about ecological issues such as oil, the soil, and even set up a government petition. He was enthusiastic and hard-working, carrying out his jobs, and still tried to be eco, cycling 2 hours a day to get to Tesco Free Time and Wagiotech, as well as cycling to Little Fair Care Home. Dave used the district line to get to Aditus Audience Acquisition from his house share in Barking. Finally cut succumbing to car ownership, buying a red Suzuki Swift when working at Niagara, Healthcare and Eshore. He also worked at Farmers Weekly and Subway whilst at uni. The job he loved most, though, was working as a deputy manager for Oxfam, helping disadvantaged in this country and abroad, as well as reducing waste. George was a very special manager. N for nice. Everyone liked David. He was polite, treated everyone with respect, always had a smile and a cheerful greeting. David cared for others. He noticed when someone needed help and had nothing unkind to say, showing real loyalty. Never judging people, accepting people just as they are, showing real loyalty and making you feel comfortable in company. David helped anyone, whether you needed something taken to the dump or the table laid, whether you wanted someone to sit with you waiting for a hospital appointment or help you remove a carpet alive with moth larvae. David volunteered in this country for Save the Children, British Heart Foundation, Compass, a local homeless charity, the Cat Protection League, Sense, Activenture, and was a Sus Trans Ranger, clearing rubbish from the Worth Way. He shared his ability to paint with the Capital Charity, running an art workshop. At university, he was president of the Art of Living Society. D for daring. David dared to be different. David went to different parts of Africa 6 times, 4 of those times on his own, as well as a solo trip to Egypt and Israel. He was always up for a challenge, whether it was whitewater rafting, learning to sail, swimming 70 lengths, going down a black ski run, or motorbiking around Kenya. S for sociable. David loved being with people. He shared his flat, he shared the food he cooked, he loved visiting and meeting up for coffees, going on walks with friends, travelling, listening to music with others. If we went shopping or I was picking up in the car, inevitably someone would pass who knew David, and David would stop and talk to them. He would talk to anyone. During his university years, David went to Africa to research whether providing ovens would be beneficial, but found that fire gave more than heat and light. It was a social activity. H for honest. David didn't see the point of lying or being fake. David was honest to his values, honest in what he said, and honest to who he was and what he believed. I for ingenuity. We still have a door alarm David made as a child that would sound when someone came in the room. David's the only person who, when locked out, opened the front door with a bent coat hanger, a feat I could never repeat. His fridge door shelves still work with the addition of a bit of gaffer tape. This gaffer tape was subsequently used to secure Bithy and Mark's wedding sign outside their venue, written with the paint pens he had bought. P for perfect. David was perfect for me, and even with all my imperfections, David made me feel perfect for him. I am so proud to be able to call him my son. I am so glad that he's been in my life. I could write equality for every letter, even X and Z, extreme and zany, but the letters I have chosen spell out the word friendship, the quality that was most important to David. David was my friend, and over the last couple of years became one of my best friends. But that is how he made many people feel, that he was their best friend, by the unconditional love he gave to them. And I thank his friends, Sam Fox, Tara Mitchell, and Sam Turner, for giving him back unconditional love. David's name means beloved, and he could not have been loved more. He was my rock. He loved rocks, a new gemstone arriving in the post after he had left us. He made me stronger, more able to stand up for what is right and to be the person I want to be. I want the hole he has left to be too bright to fill, not too dark. David will always leave a lamp on in his flat, and I will leave his light on in my heart. David was a light in a dark world, showing us how we should treat each other. I would like to finish by reading a prayer David wrote a while ago, which shows his desire to relieve human suffering. I pray for everyone on earth to experience peace, freedom, happiness and love. I pray to be more open-minded. I pray for greater mental decisiveness, confidence and pragmatism. I pray for all those suffering. I pray for the hungry, the cold, the outcast. I pray they may find peace and love. I pray for forgiveness. I pray I may be more equal and equally giving. I pray I fear less and love more. I pray I align myself with the will for this universe and not my own. I surrender my will for the good of this earth and universe. I ask for guidance on how to live and in which way to do this. I ask for blessing on myself and ask blessings on all lives in this universe. Creator, you who created us and know our path, hear my prayer.
Amen. Thanks, Mandy.
How would David want to be remembered is a question I keep asking myself. He was a lot of different things to different people, but to me he was my younger brother, playmate, competitor and friend. To my daughter Alicia he was fun Uncle David, who often had a little chocolate treat for her in his pocket and a bag of presents at birthdays and Christmas. I will never know how he really wanted to be remembered, but I will choose to remember him as clever, funny, generous, kind and resilient, a deep thinker, fast talker and fun lover. I miss him, I love him, and life is worse without him here.
I'll keep it short. I'm going to piggyback off everyone who's going to say anything, but he was my hero, the strongest person I know. Oh, did know. Yeah, well, man.
From a young age, I looked up to David and always wanted to be playing his games. He was so incredibly creative and full of ideas. He was the most fun to be with. Sometimes we would make a ghost train together. He would make the track, often with mountains sculpted from bedding in books, and I would add figurines around it. Sometimes the games would end in tears, but when it counted, he really looked out for me. I remember one time him holding my arm tightly, making sure I didn't step into the dangerous building site in the back garden. There is a photo of this exact memory that was on the screen earlier. Or more recently, he spent time chatting to me, checking in almost every day when I was going through a really rough patch. My brother David was an incredible person. His kindness and patience immeasurable. He showed kindness to so many people and had time to help anyone who needed it. He was also so brave, the bravest person I've ever known. He battled with his mental health, and sometimes it was a lot, but he fought so hard to be happy and to build on his life, and also to give all he could to making the world a better place. I'm so grateful that I had him as an older brother to show me true bravery, resilience and patience. My brother shone too brightly for this world. He walked and danced to the beat of his own drum and had some crazy times along the way. I hope that wherever he is able to shine as brightly as he was always meant to, even if that is in our hearts and in our memories.
Thanks, Tara. Lena, would you be ready to do your reading? Just to get the microphone to you.
I have just bought a Christmas card I received from David in 2023. I did not receive one in 2024, unfortunately. To read to you what he wrote could sound as if I am blowing my own trumpet. This is certainly not the intention. The whole reason for bringing this card is to show what a very special person David was. He will be greatly missed by his grandma. He was much loved, a very special grandson. Love, Lena, kiss, kiss, kiss. The card he sent me was, Grandma, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. You've always been such an inspiration to me, Grandma. I love you so very, very much. Love, David. Kiss, 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 kiss. I love David very much too.
Thanks, Lena. Sounds going to happen.
Hello everyone. I knew David for 11 years and to celebrate his life I drew an eagle. I sketched an eagle because he inspired me to get back to sketching when I lost hope and everything, when I had my spinal injury. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's an eagle and in the heart is David, because David was that of an eagle. He was brave, he was strong, courageous, honest, trustworthy, an amazing soul, one in a million. David and I met 11 years ago. It was only by chance that I moved into the same sheltered accommodation. Ironically, he remembered me from a Sussex Oak Leaf group, which was a mental health group that we went to. He knocked on my door and doing the kind and thoughtful thing that was David all over, he invited me to have a cup of tea with him. David and my friendship began to bloom. David was a very intelligent and honest person. He made me laugh, was so natural and so rational and logical. David was an excellent artist and he inspired me to start my sketching again. But his flame for colour was impeccable. His love for music and singing kept me amused for hours. He would sing to YouTube songs with his soul and with such enthusiasm, and he was fantastic. Before my spinal injury, he took me on long walks, pointing out different flowers, saying, "You've got to learn the flowers in England." The only one I can remember though was a buddleia. In a nutshell, David was not only my friend, he was my soulmate. He led by example. His honesty shone through. He was truly an amazing young man. The three of us, Tara, myself, him, and Sam, a few years ago, we were a group, and David was, pleased to say, the best thing that ever came to our group and into my life. I love you, David, and I will always love you, and I will always thank you for what you've done for me. You are an inspiration. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Tara and David was my soulmate. I've had the pleasure of knowing David for the last 8 years and I loved him dearly. He was bouncy, bubbly and delightful to be around. He was like a baby brother to me and always looked out for me as I did him. We enjoyed going out together, the three of us, and he would always say, "Let's go on a road trip." He would blast the music up in the car and we would sing along and dance and act really silly. We had such fun. David practically lived with me and he would always say in the morning, "Want a cuppa, love?" He was so caring and cooked delicious meals for us. I miss his secret recipe for pickly pasta, but even more I miss him dearly. He was a true friend and I'll never forget him. It was a pleasure to have had him in my life. David, I will love you forever, my friend. I will love you truly. Goodbye, my friend.
So I think we've done the family recollections. So I've printed out my own list in order of how they kind of came to me. And so a number of people here have got the pieces of paper. And so firstly, I'm going to ask the ladies from the Ashdown Hub.
David attended the Ashdown Hub, and he was a very special part of the Ashdown Hub community. This is a memory from Joe, who was the founding person of the Ashdown Hub. My memories of David are of a very kindly, spiritual, gentle man, with whom it was an absolute pleasure and joy to spend some time in the garden. I remember in our first garden site at the Hub that we spent time sitting together in the rabbit enclosure. I remember how he gently led a very timid rabbit to come over, taking its time till eventually it came right up to him and leant against him, as if inviting him to stroke it. When he stroked it, it stayed next to him for a long time. I never saw it do that for anyone else. The trust this little animal showed him seems to say something I also have felt about his character, which is otherwise hard to put into words.
There's a couple of messages from Jackie, who is the chair of the Ashdown Hub charity. In our supervision sessions and volunteer meetings, David's spirit is always with us. He brought us together and helped us grow as a community, even when things felt really challenging. We are so grateful for everything he has given us, and in another amen. We were heartbroken to hear about David's passing. He was truly a bright light in this world, and his warm hugs and infectious laughter will always be cherished memories for us. I feel so lucky to have known him and witnessed the joy he brought to so many lives in the Hub. David's passion for art was so inspiring. When I saw him in November, I remembered our promise to dance together one day. Jackie said, "We need to try Zumba together." A memory I hold close to my heart. His spirit will continue to dance with us, reminding us of the fun and joy he brought into our lives.
It's hard to make a specific memory. Out of my teenage and young adult years, as David was in so many, we laughed a lot and danced together even more than that. He cooked me my very first ever vegan meal. Every single friend I introduced him to thought he was lovely and funny and kind, and he made everyone feel interesting and special. Many were camp memories, coming up with code names for the guys I fancied, playing dares with everyone, his wonderful love chuckle, birthday parties, his and mine. Him and Rachel roaring with laughter at the scary parts of a horror film totally ruined the experience. Many weddings and parties and nights out, and round the dining room table dancing our hearts out, horrifically sweaty. He was truly a cheddar, and we would be very missed.
David was part of my life for a long time, so there are so many memories which he is a part of, and I will treasure. The first thing I think of when I think of David is his laugh. He didn't hold back, he was truly infectious, impossible not to laugh along with him. Even if he was across the room, he knew that somewhere he was bringing fun and joy to others.
I have a longer piece here from Julie Trotman, who submitted this. It's really quite an interesting story, so I'm going to read it to you. I only ever met David twice, but both those encounters hold a special place in my heart. He was only 2, I think, or less, when preaching week was held at Bispham Hall, Crank Road, Billinge, near Wigan, an abysmal, cranky place, where, in my memory, there was only cold water and one loo, but that's not the point. Matt was running the creche on the campsite magnificently, while folk were off-site carding, although I don't actually remember any of that. And it was during this time that somehow David managed to escape from the creche. Matt was, of course, distraught, beside himself, running to and fro, getting everyone to check their tents. I had a thought, and went through the hedgeway into the next camping area, which was deserted, but where, wandering along as happy as Larry, was David, coming towards me between the line of tents. I picked him up saying, "Your daddy's looking for you, let's go find him." As I returned, I remember thinking, this must be how joyful the police must feel when they know a lost person is perfectly safe and well, before anyone else does. Matt was, of course, overjoyed with relief. Years went by. Keith and I had kids of our own. We never went to preaching week again, but our kids went to Sunday school and youth circle. Then, one Saturday, a Southern Youth Circle swimming event was organised at Petersfield Swimming Pool. This location was near enough for both Hawley youngsters and ours to join in. So it was with great interest that I began to meet a load of teenage young people I hadn't seen since they were 2 or 3 years old. Aaron and Nat Skinner, and Atara Kemp, for example. My daughter and friend were in no need of my company, so I had a swim on my own. And then they turned on the whirlpool. I had never experienced one, so I thought I would have a go. It was great, until I wanted to get out of it. This was scary. The more I tried to get out and failed, the more scared I got. But then I noticed that 2 young men from our company were standing by the whirlpool exit, their hands outstretched to grab and rescue anyone who had difficulty escaping the current. So, on my next whirl, I grabbed the hand of one of them, and he hauled me powerfully to safety. I was so grateful. But as I released my grip of his hand and thanked him profusely, the smile on his face took me back suddenly, through the years. I swam off, leaving him to continue his loving task, and went to Matt to ask him if that was David. And of course it was. Later on, I told David the story of how a long time ago I had rescued him, and then, on our next encounter, he had rescued me. He was amazed that I had known him when he was small. "Was I holding a flower?" he asked thoughtfully. "Do you know, David?" "I think you were," I replied, replaying the memory in my mind of the small boy wandering happily along in his own world. From just these 2 brief encounters with David, I could detect a beautiful, thoughtful dreaminess about him, and a care for others great enough to give up his own swimming time to be available to others like me in their time of need. Thank you for, in capital letters, being lovely David. Last year, David spent quite a lot of time with Dr. Anna Ruddle. You're not here, are you? No. You spent quite a lot of time with Dr. Anna Ruddle, principal clinical psychologist, doing a long CBT course. And Anna wrote to Mandy, "I just wanted to put in writing my sincere condolences to you and your whole family for your loss, as well as to Sam and Tara and all David's friends. I'm aware I only had a small window into David's life, but as you can imagine, you get to know someone fairly well in therapy. So I've also been very saddened by the news. We worked together for a relatively long time in NHS therapy terms, so I felt we built a fairly strong relationship. I therefore wanted to share with you just what a bright, thoughtful, reflective, curious, intelligent and likeable person I found David to be. He showed such strength, courage and humour throughout our work together. His caring and sociable nature was so apparent, it made him a real pleasure to work with. I looked forward to our sessions and how hard he worked during and between them. I'm only so very sorry that ultimately his pain and distress became too much. He spoke so warmly and touchingly about all the love and support you gave him so relentlessly. He shared lovely examples of your trips away, walks in nature and meals out. As you said, I hope in time you will hold on to some really lovely memories. Words can't really touch how I'm sure you'll all be feeling over the coming weeks, months and years. But I wanted to share my thoughts and condolences. He will be missed by the professionals who worked with him, as well as by all of you, with my deepest sympathy. Rachel, I didn't ask you, would you be prepared to do your reading? Or are you, Rachel? Sorry.
Yeah. I'm happy for you to do it now.
Okay, I'm going to read Rachel's words that she kindly sent me. Please see a selection of pictures over the years of the lovely David. I'm sorry they're all jumbled up. I'm unsure of the date order. It's a mixture of friends' get-togethers, birthday parties, weddings, and a few of our little holiday together. I was so heartbroken to hear of David's death and hope these pictures can shine some happiness for you both. David was a huge part of my childhood and young adult life, and I will always remember him being a bundle of joy and laughs, with a great David laugh, a gentle and kind character and a good friend. I'm sorry I haven't been more present a part of his life in the last few years. David was a friend where we could pick up exactly where we left as if no time had passed. I shall miss him deeply and can't begin to imagine what you are experiencing. I'm sending a lot of love and thoughts your way. May David rest in peace. I'm sure he knew how loved he was. Thank you, Rachel. Dawn and Russell. So Jasmine wrote some words and Dawn wrote some words.
So first of all, I'd like to say that Aaron and Phoebe sent that love, and they're sorry that they can't be with us today. So these are just some thoughts. Having looked through the photographs this week, I've been thinking of David so much and wanted to share my thoughts with you and Mandy. So our families go back. Our family connection goes back many generations, with David's granddad Ray and Aaron's granddad Norman being friends when they were young boys, and their mothers also being very supportive of one another. And you, Mac, being our best man, when Mandy was pregnant with Bithia. And I remember hearing in the garden of Bob and Betty's house in Fairgate that Mandy was expecting David, who was born in January. We had Aaron 10 months later and introduced them to each other when Aaron was only a few weeks old. As babies and toddlers, I would say they had a love-hate relationship. Typical kids. If he had something, I wanted it, and if I had something, he was not having it. This was on both sides. There was lots of pushing and shoving and shouting and tears. But there was also a lot of fun, laughter, mischief and friendship. And I took great comfort from Mandy that I wasn't the only one who didn't have a perfectly behaved child, because believe me, at that time, there were a number of perfect angels all around. And so Aaron and David became great mates. Our family spent so much time together. Sunday school, CYC, YPG, preaching weeks, week camps, youth weekends, great times. But what I remember most were the Sunday afternoon Kemp Skinner child exchanges. When David would come to our home and Jasmine would go to yours to play with Atara, or vice versa. When David came to ours, it wasn't a case of boys together. When younger siblings were left out, David was always inclusive of Jasmine and Phoebe. I remember him being gentle and kind and helping them to play whatever game they were playing, encouraging and thoughtful. So many years of friendship. Life moves on and life happens. David to university and Aaron to Australia. Most of all, I remember David as a happy, fun boy with an infectious giggle, mischievous grin, a huge smile, an enthusiasm for fun that he could barely contain and was bursting out, full of kindness, thoughtfulness of others and gentleness. So many beautiful memories to treasure.
And these are the words of Jasmine. David was a brilliant person who brought a lot of joy and happiness and many, many laughs to people's lives. When I think of David, I picture his humongous smile, crackling laugh, accompanied by shoulder raises and those eyes. There are too many memories to write, and some just consist of laughter. I cannot say why, but I remember coming round to your house on Sunday afternoons, between the two meetings, and all squashing into your movie room filled with pillows and piling on top of each other, watching films, laughing and singing along to VeggieTales. Your house was and is the coolest. Of course, there were many, many holidays with David, ski trips, camping trips, youth weekends. David was so good at card games, so was Tara. I hated playing with them because they were so quick and savage. I was a sore loser, covered up by a fake smile. David always was very kind to people, always gentle, open and available friend if you had a problem. You could confide in him and he would have your back. What a wonderful person he was. I feel so blessed to have these memories since birth and to be brought up in a community that allowed us to have those close friendships and see each other multiple times a week. You always knew you were going to have a good time with David, full of chit-chat, laughing, and something mischievous. A lot of these memories are thanks to you, Matt and Mandy, always being hospitable, having the most fun birthday parties, all the planning, commitment, enthusiasm with the preacher week, kids clubs. As an adult, I am astonished by the energy and time that would have taken. Sending you a huge hug and lots of love, and remembering David always as a great, lovely and fun person he was.
Thanks, Russell, Dawn and Jasmine. Katie and Molly. You've got your papers.
I have so many wonderful memories of David. How he loved to dance. I'll never forget dancing with him at Wick Camp. And at parties. His cackle of a laugh when he was up to something mischievous, which he often was. I have many fond memories skiing with David. He used to love spending the afternoons with him at ski school. He was always in charge of the directions, and we did have a few close shaves, as we always wanted to ski right up to the end of the day. I remember trying to copy his technique. He was super fast and looked so effortless. I remember him teaching me how to carve, his particularity when it came to ski socks. I remember many hilarious and some not so hilarious crashes. My earliest memories of David were building sandcastles at Land Camp. I think that would have been when we first met. His warm hugs, when he used to do his very deep voice, just a few memories I will treasure.
David was the absolute heart and soul of every party, gathering, and youth weekend when I was growing up. I have so many fond memories of that time. Life was so much more simple then in many ways, and all I remember is joy and laughter with David and the Holly lot. David was the leader of the pack on the Holly ski trips, on the slopes, and in the evenings when we got up to so much fun and mischief. There were at daytime escapades where a small group of us would chase on the tails of Matt and David. We got away with minimal injuries, all things considered. In the evenings, David was always at the centre of everything. I can hear his infectious laugh now when I think about him. David was so much fun and such a kind and loving person. He knew how to dance and be silly, and he was up for anything, yet at the same time he was so thoughtful and he always came across to be so wise. Nothing will ever take away these precious and happy memories.
I just want to say really that for me, and I think for all of us, David is a really bright light that shone in our lives, and he continues to shine. That seems so evident from what we're hearing today. For me, David was somebody who he challenged the way that I think about the world, and he was able to tackle the world in a way that I could only ever dream of. For David, rules didn't really seem to be that important. For David, his way of doing things was something that he stood by and he was strong with. And I fondly remember a time a few years ago when he worked for me for a few weeks. Mandy mentioned it earlier. And I recruited him to do some reporting for Farmers Weekly, believe it or not. And David was phoning up farmers from all over the United Kingdom, crusty old rural farmers in Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland. And his job was to ask them how their harvest was going. It's hardly the most stimulating conversation, is it? But David filled his days with amusement and chatted to all these characters, and his bubbly personality shone out. And he wrote great articles for us. I was very, very happy with that. But David then went one step beyond. He decided to interview all the members of staff on the magazine. And that was fair enough, you know, the news editor, the business editor, and he wanted to know all about them. And that was David. He loved people, and he wanted to understand them better. But then David took a really brave step. He decided to interview the group editor, and gave them a bit of jip about worker rights and corporate greed. And he didn't stop there. He decided, against my better advice, that he would go and interview the publishing director. That's something even I balked at. But David waltzed in there in his usual happy way and interrogated this publishing director and really gave him some stick. David was a much, much braver man than I ever was or ever will be. And the brightness of that determination to do things as he saw appropriate. And we've heard how he was such a giving, caring, loving soul. And that brightness still shines in this room. And I'm so glad that I knew David. I was honoured to know him. And I will cherish those memories, as I'm sure we all will.
Thanks, Charles. Is Grace in the room?
Yeah.
She's there. There you go, Grace.
My memories of David centre around Happy Family Boxing Days, lunches after Sunday school, the camps, preaching weeks, birthday parties, ski trips, and church adventures. To the untrained, David sometimes seemed like a shy and quiet boy for a few minutes, just when the laughter started. He was always right in the middle, the bringer together, the game starter, the one who reliably turned the mundane into the funniest concepts, the silliest, most brilliant jokes. He once made me laugh so hard that I tipped a conveniently placed jug onto myself to cover the shame of my bladder into. He would regularly leave me with ribs aching from the hilarity that ensued all around him. As a child and a teen, he was such full of energy, yodeling on request, whipping up riotously eccentric characters without the slightest pause, doing really funny impressions of our grandmother, often leaving you gasping for breath between the giggles and the joy. I remember recreating a maze of boxes that took you from bedroom to bedroom on the first floor of Matt and Mandy's, and encouraging Tara and me to share our first midnight feast during a sleepover, and laughing and comforting me when I vomited at the table the next morning. And always slotting the Emperor's New Groove VHS back into the player for another rewatch. David was always so funny and still so kind, so inclusive, so loving, an arm around your shoulders, a sensitive listening ear, a kind word and a tight squeeze, never judgmental, never a negative word to say, always ready to invent the next game to bring someone else into the fold. Skiing with him was a joy, playing with him was joy, feeling his love was joy, laughing at his relentless absurdities was joy. I feel so lucky to have known this yodeling bubble of joy, and I hope he's dancing to Disney somewhere.
Luke, are you ready?
Still doesn't feel real, but I hope you all know how much David was loved and the positive impact he had on all his friends. My main memories of David are from childhood and teenage years. As a kid, I remember him being full of energy and enthusiasm, slightly wild, always lovable. His birthday parties were the best. Being slightly older than me, he was someone I always looked up to, for better or worse. I always thought he was super wise. When he taught me about this thing called gravity, it just blew my mind. The legendary Hawley minibus trips were made even more memorable with David. I'll never forget the way he sang Disney songs like The Little Mermaid's Part of Your World, just blasting out Ariel's voice at the top of his lungs. I remember David being in his element during the Bracken Wars at Wick Camp, where we would spend hours being feral children running around the woods on the grounds of this very posh school in Suffolk. David being the most feral. In between skirmishes, David could often be found fiercely guarding his base on the gnarly old oak tree, wielding a stick spear. I think it was David who came up with the concept of the splodgem, which was a mud missile made from a ripped up bog plant that would be thrown at rivals, preferably those wearing clean, light-coloured clothes. And we must have made an absolute pigsty of the area, but they were very happy times. To my first black run with David in Altuez, he was incredible to ski with. David was so very thoughtful. When I went travelling, he'd always make the effort to send emails, which I really appreciated. And the messages he would send from uni and his travel adventures, so open, so honest and real, and very funny too. David was someone who was very genuine, very passionate, and loved by so many people for who he was.
Thanks, Luke. Does anybody feel particularly moved that would like to add a contribution? The time is whizzing by.
My name's Lucy, and I just want to say on behalf of everyone at the West Sussex Capital charity, we're so grateful and overjoyed to have known David. And he used, when he had time, because he did a lot of other charities and various things, he would come and do some absolutely gorgeous workshops at the Trinity Church Hub we had, where he would do art, very spontaneous. He had it all planned, but it was so accessible for everybody, and he had a lovely, lovely manner, and to do it that people felt very peaceful. And he loved the Ashdown Hub, and he learned from their approach to do it in a lovely therapy sort of way, and people really, really loved that. We loved his personality, and personally, I just loved chatting with David. We had wonderful, crazy spiritual talks that would go on to aliens and the meaning of life and just everything you can think of. And I absolutely loved that. And his voice, I think, is the main thing. His love and his voice that will stay with me. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Obviously, I'm talking on behalf of everyone that goes to bingo up the Ex-Services Club, who we all love David. We all miss him like mad. I personally, I think I knew him for about 3 years, but it felt like a lifetime. He was just always there smiling and winning the money. So now we can all have a chance. Thanks, David. But a lot of people up there, they do love him, they do miss him, and they said they would love to be here today, but obviously due to other commitments, they can't all make it.
Thanks very much. I'm just going to move on now to concluding thoughts. David Matthew Kemp, my beloved gift of God, as I named him. Although his lifespan was not as long as I would have liked, I'm so thankful to David that he gave us a lot of fun, joy and love along the way. I have many birthday and Father's Day cards that he gave me, some of them particularly well-constructed pieces of craft. In one of my favourites he wrote, "To Dad, thank you for all the things you do for me behind the scenes. Thank you for my life and my wonderful childhood. I will remember our holidays forever. Love you, David. Kiss, 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 kiss." Well, I guess his forever has run its course now. He didn't choose to come into this life. If he did choose the time to leave it, I must respect that choice. If it was a tragic miscalculation of intent or some other explanation, I am still, in every scenario, just left with the sadness and pain of missing him, despite wanting only to remember the joy. This grief is rightly a manifestation of the depth of love, now no longer able to be expressed to him. An irony for me is the amount of time I put into making a movie about David after his life, rather than investing it into him when he was still with me. We humans never seem to learn. We have arranged for a memorial bench to be installed in East Grinstead. It will be in the Campus Garden at the Mount Noddy Park. The plaque will read, "David's chair for all to share." It will be opposite the north point of the campus, facing south into the sunshine. This garden is in sight of the first flats that David moved into independently. David, in fact, did gardening here as a voluntary service to the maintaining charity. The site is between the two locations he lived at and convenient for anyone who knew him who might want to take an opportunity for a sit and remembrance. The car park is free. David had a very distinct spiritual side to him. He didn't believe when he died that he would go into oblivion, expressing a notion of some sort of continuation of essence being the outcome. We disagreed on quite a few things in life. In this respect, for once in my life, I hope he is right and I am wrong. We were looking for any last messages, any clues. There was nothing specifically obvious. However, David did write. Sorry, I shouldn't have moved that back there. However, David did write and publish 2 poems in his Facebook and Instagram feeds last July. I'll finish now, leaving you with his words. There will be double-sided laminated copies of these poems for all to take on the table, here by his photo. The spelling, punctuation and grammar are all exactly as he wrote it. Subjugation. Trying to think straight, don't want to dilate. These pills you've got me on, telling me I don't belong. I'm such an alien, can't feel what I've become. Secret societies and covens, all of those that govern. Sending shockwaves through the nations, destroying this creation, serving their own, putting all else in subjugation. How long can their lies carry on and dupe everyone? We need peace, is what I'm on. Save the next generation. Ostracize me. Maybe I'm quiet, I don't laugh enough or too much. I'm awkward, I don't deserve your love or your touch. A little shyness never hurt. I thought it was a good thing, not ending up in the dirt. Don't ostracize me because I'm so aware. Don't call me proud or say it's unfair. We only know how to live one life at a time. So don't ostracize me and leave me to lie in the streets or at home alone. The case for another dog and bone won't come along. You'll be left with a heartless bunch who'll just sit and wait for the next set of others to munch. We all need love in this world to thrive, no, survive. So just ostracize me and you'll see in time you were better off without me. Get my sarcasm? Sure, it's fine. Yes, just before you go, just listen to this one more piece.
David wrote in a diary, "Memory is our tool for individuality, freedom, learning, skill. There are going to be no new memories for me shared with Dave, but I'm collecting other people's memories. If you'd like to write a memory you have of him on an index card on the table to the side, there's one over there, I would be most grateful. These memories will be new to me, and when I want to find Dave, I will go to this memory box, and this is where his essence will be, the life essence that he believed could not be destroyed, but continues."
Thank you. And so we have here until 5, so enjoy that time together, share memories, laugh, tears, whatever. And then, as I said, from 5 until 8 o'clock, we've booked a buffet area in the Star Inn, and there are directions to that on the table over there. Please also look at the charity information and maybe make a donation on David's behalf to those 2 charities that I've listed. And please do collect a copy of the poems from here. Thank you very much for coming, everybody.
Hope Knight writes, David used to come to our house and would often play a game with Tom and Rach. Masterpiece. There was always a lot of laughter. David was one of the first to help Tom to integrate at Hawley, and I believe this played a pivotal role in Tom's life. Nigel Cowlishaw writes, David, I'm sitting at home with the children, so sorry not to be at your celebration this afternoon, thinking of you and your lovely family. I remember being on preaching weeks with you and at Wick Camps. Both events were always lots of fun. You always seemed a happy, energetic fellow. I always enjoyed chatting with you and spending time with you. You had a wonderful smile and a welcoming manner, kind, always kind. I have not seen you for many years and am sad to hear that you had difficult challenges to deal with. Good night for now, David. Graham and Claire Tremaine write, 3 recollections from many memories that we would like to share. From David's early years. David playing with the other kids after Sunday school at Rusper Village Hall and at Court Lodge. He would get so into the game, tag or it or whatever it was, that he would be red-faced, panting, perspiring, totally committed to the fun, completely lost in the enjoyment of it. Many years later, Claire met David unexpectedly at the shop in Crawley where David was working. They had not seen one another for many years. David came up to her and they shared an enormous, spontaneous hug. And finally, a memory from across many shared events and stages of his life. His characteristic, infectious laugh, remembered with much love. Aaron Skinner writes, the loss of David is beyond words. The last few weeks I've been replaying all the happy memories with David from our childhood. I remember at Wick Camp spending hours and hours in the bushes, fields, up in trees or down in ditches, building dens and bases to defend us from other teams attacking us. All of the Hawley ski trips, the wonderful days skiing and then all the fun of the evenings. All of the Hawley activity weekends and weekends away together. The laughs, the joy, the happy memories, they all bring me to a smile. I hope you are finding comfort in all the happy memories too. With much love, the Skinners Down Under. Imogen Kemp writes, I am so very sad that David isn't with us anymore. He was dearly loved. I wanted to share a brief story from a friend. They met David when they were a young teenager at a camp. He was very nervous and shy and didn't feel very comfortable. David reached out to him, was friendly, kind, and made him feel included. The kindness David showed to him stayed with him for decades. He always thought fondly of David. His kindness, love, and laughter was felt by many.